Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First off, I'd like our board to come on up and introduce yourselves. We have a couple board members that are not here tonight. Jay, you want to come? Go ahead.
Hello everyone, Tom Black, board member, Planning and Land Use Committee. Thank you for coming tonight.
Maria Taco Calvin, I have a legislative committee.
Can we have a little bit of order in the back? Thank you.
I'm Bob Anderson, I'm chair of the Transportation Committee, and thank you all for coming tonight.
Okay, and Jay Weitzler is flirting in the back, so he's, I'll introduce Jay Weitzler. It's okay, Jay, we got it. You want to say hello? Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Also, we have, I want to say thank you to Jane Kaplan. She sets up all of our restaurant of the month. Thank you. And did everybody enjoy your meal tonight? Can I have the guys from Crave come on up here? So, these guys, come on up here, you guys. I want you to tell the story. These guys own Crave on the corner of Van Nuys and Ventura Boulevard, as well as the Pita Kitchen. Both of those guys, or both of those restaurants have been there for a while. I love the food. I've been going there a long time, but don't think you guys that put something in the food you're seeing double. They are brothers. They're twins. So tell us about how long you've owned it.
We took over 2016.
Okay.
And then we opened another location in Westville in COVID time, and now it's been like 5 years.
6 years.
6 years. So now we have the cafe at Sherman, sushi, Pita Kitchen, and the cafe in Westville.
Nice. And you took over both Crave and the Pita Kitchen at the same time?
Yes.
It wasn't owned, it was owned by somebody.
That is the same guy.
Oh, it was, okay, good. That's great. And how long has the Pita Kitchen been there? Like 40 years?
Like 30, 35 years.
Okay. And Crave? Like 25 years?
About 25 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. And it's Mediterranean food?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about it. I'm telling you about it.
So, I think you guys know more about it more than me. You guys have been eating there for longer than I've been in America. I moved to America in 2012.
I think I've been eating there longer than you were born.
And then we have a cafe on the side, and then we have the sushi. We love the neighborhood. We appreciate you guys for always supporting us. Neighborhood was better before, and we're hoping maybe the neighborhood goes like back in the days. It's a little bit, it's like changed since 2016 till now.
It's changed. In what way? For the better? Well, we have our senior lead officer, Jose Saldana here. What's changed? Come on, tell him what's changed.
Changed, like, we got maybe robbed the past 2 months like a couple times.
We got robbed.
Which has never happened before out there.
Jose. Go ahead, what else?
There's a lot of homeless out our corner.
Okay.
Yeah, which is we deal with them on a daily basis.
Okay, well.
Other than that, we love the neighborhood.
No, we love you guys there too. So when you say, Jose, what do these guys do when they see a homeless? We don't want them to go ahead and get in trouble themselves and what should they do? Should they call the council office? Should they call, what should?
Go ahead and call the non-emergency number. We'll send hopefully they'll send a circle team.
Come over here so that the folks at home can hear this also.
Yeah, when you see a homeless and they're out there loitering or harassing customers, go ahead and call the non-emergency number, and the non-emergency number will contact either the circle team or one of the organizations and get these people to try to get housed. But if they're harassing customers or being aggressive, then the police will respond and try to get these people moved out of it.
And the non-emergency number is 1-800-ASK-LAPD.
It's 1-877-ASK-LAPD.
I knew that, I just wanted to test you. So have you called that before? Okay. So do that, be the squeaky wheel.
I've always called you guys, and honestly, they've always been there. But I've never used the other number.
So at the same time as you're doing that, also reach out to the council office, have their number on speed dial, and send an email to them as well, let them know what's going on, and hopefully they'll get some resolve for you guys. So, yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you guys, thank you.
Thank you for having us again.
Did you guys love the food? Thank you.
What are the names?
Samar and Samir.
Simon and
Samar,
Samar.
S-A-M-E-R.
Samar and
The older one by 10 minutes. Samir, S-A-M-I-R.
Which one is the brains in the outfit? The brains.
For brains, we will have almost half and half.
Which one's better looking? They're blushing. Thanks, guys. That was great food, thank you. That was really great. You folks at home that decided not to come tonight, you missed another great meal. So, how many of you guys actually wrote a letter or made a phone call on behalf of SB 79? Okay, so about half of you guys, thank you. I'm going to have Maria come up here. You failed. You didn't write enough letters. Okay, it passed. So in your neighborhood, you're going to have a nice 6-story. If any of you live within a half a mile, is it a half a mile?
Yeah.
Half a mile of a transportation corridor. Stop. Half a mile from a transportation stop. In a circle, a radius, you're going to get to, the developer's going to start coming in and building 6-story apartment buildings. So the folks that are sitting at home tonight, enjoying your nice TV, enjoy it. But give us a report, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I will. Well, you know, we've been working for 6 years, trying to fight bills that Scott Wiener always introduces that have focus set on single-family neighborhoods. And that's why we worked really hard with the housing element, because we wanted to make sure that we really did find density on our corridors and had them zoned for it. And we thought the housing element in LA was done really well. It has a lot of density. But it's one thing to lose to a bill on merit, but I think we lost this one because of exemptions. And as the months went by, more and more exemptions were granted. So out of 50 counties in California, only 8 of them are impacted by this bill. And among those 8, any community that's smaller than 35,000 people doesn't have to participate. So West Hollywood was exempt, Beverly Hills was exempt, South Pasadena was exempt. So instead of us all working together to try and find housing, it became very much centralized in certain areas. So we have to say that we worked really hard. We are still working hard. And Saturday of this last week, we sent out a message for everybody to write to the mayor because we wanted her to take a position to oppose and try to get that SB 79 vetoed. And we were getting nowhere, and then all of a sudden we asked everybody again today at 11 to call her. And about an hour and a half later, I got a call from the mayor's office saying, what do you guys need or want? And I said, we want a letter sent to the governor, because you know that SB 79 is not okay for us. And within a half hour, we did get that letter. So the mayor has said to the governor that she wants that bill vetoed. Whether that happens or not, it's important that she has stood up for all of us, and she explained very clearly that our housing element was pretty intensive, and we've met with the planning department, and they are very concerned about what this means to vulnerable neighborhoods, historic areas, single-family neighborhoods. And it's not necessary. So we're asking everybody to keep writing the mayor, the governor. And if you've done that, we thank you. Keep writing. We have on the table these little instructions. You just have to go to his website, follow my prompts. You just have to state clearly what the problem is, or just say, please veto this bill. We think it should have been a better bill. We're not against density. We're against where this density is being placed and what harm it's really going to cause needlessly. So that's the update.
Okay, cool, thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. Yes.
2 months ago was fabulous. What happened?
What, I'm sorry?
Your presentation was fabulous 6 months ago. What happened?
What happened to the bill?
Big money.
Well, you know what, it's,
Big money came in. Big money came in from Wall Street, and they gave that money to the winner.
You proposed things along the major,
the city, yes, the city, when we did those maps of everybody's community, they were accepted by the city, and that's why the city passed a housing element that did not go into single family. It protected hillsides, it protected all kinds of things, and we got plenty of zoning. But it's the whole state. So as this bill went through, he kept exempting communities. Northern California, a lot of people just stayed off of it and voted yes because they weren't being impacted. Their neighborhoods weren't being impacted. And I have to say that that bill, the final vote was 20 yeses and they needed 21 and it stopped there. And we saw Scout Wiener walk over to Senator Grove from Bakersfield. He talked to her and all of a sudden she was a yes vote and he got what he needed. But I think a lot of people were troubled by that bill. And I'm sorry that we didn't have a chance. A lot of them had no idea what this bill was all about. I think a lot of the legislators had no idea of the complexity of this bill and what it really, its impacts were.
but your proposal to take lots on, say, Ventura Boulevard that are commercial and do something that was so brilliant.
And it's what the city has proposed, and that's why the city is now standing up and saying, we think we did a great job. You should give us a chance. We were even given the opportunity to implement this, to show people how it might work. And the economy, by the way, hasn't helped anybody either, because the cost of money, the cost of labor, the cost of materials, ULA, everything is causing a problem on getting more building done. So we just have to keep fighting, and we will, because we're not going to let this go.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Maria, thank you. Let's hear it from Maria, she does everything well. And not only does Maria speak for us here at Sherman, but she also represents United Neighbors, which you created.
Yeah.
You created 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
And which has over 60 or 70,
Over hundreds now.
no, 60 or 70 in this area,
There's
in
over-
Greater Los Angeles.
There's over 150 homeowners in LA.
Oh, wow, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And we're now statewide too, so.
That's fantastic. So thank you, Maria. We're very blessed to have you. Speaking of blessed, another hardworking gentleman, Bob Anderson. What do you guys think of the new format of the newsletter? Bob Anderson. Okay.
Just want to tell you, I've been talking about Metro a lot. And I've become very close with the people in Bel Air because they're fighting very hard against many of the Metro concepts that would go under their neighborhood and give them nothing. And about 2 years ago, a group named Keep Bel Air Beautiful filed a lawsuit against Metro, asking for documents that we felt they withheld from us. Well, finally, about 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, the Superior Court ruled that they had to release 230 documents to Keep Bel Air Beautiful. Well, I got the nice opportunity to review all 230. And they're kind of boring until I hit this little bit. And this one is a document that's internal to Metro talking about this person who keeps complaining and you're trying to appease her. His name's Bob Anderson. And that's from 2019. And they even made up a plan between themselves and Sheila Kuehl's transportation deputy to give the right answer to Bob, so they coordinated the answer to me. And then Sheila Kuehl's transportation deputy left, and guess what? She's now the chief of staff of Metro. Her name's Nicole. So they were working together. I could say collusion, but that's a bad word. They were working together.
Well, wait a second. I think it is collusion because on some of those email threads is to the paid UCLA lobbyists, right?
Well, that's the next thing.
Oh.
Then they gave it to the Metro Communications Director. If you've ever been to a Metro meeting, you see this woman sort of sorting the questions to decide which one to ask. That's her. Her name's Jody. Jody sent it to UCLA's paid lobbyist named Kobe King, with the note at the top on the email that said, shh, little S with a lot of H's after it. He then describes back to her that, gee, can Metro develop some data showing that UCLA actually would be more important than the eventual LAX stop? It's so important, it's really necessary at UCLA. And of course, the comment back to him is patience, young Jedi. A little cozy relationship here. Then I found another one, I won't go into that one. Then we found a few more. This stinks. It wasn't so much it's about me, I just happened to see my name, but they're just working together to mislead people. And it's disgusting, and they're going to regret it. Because we have little email A1348 that they provided, plus another one.
Keep going, Bob.
We'll keep you posted in the next newsletter. I hope to have permission to post this on the website, along with a couple of others that are abuse. There's also some emails to Nithya, there's emails to Zev, there's emails to all sorts of people that probably shouldn't have gotten. Thank you.
It's so sad. We thought that corruption was just in Washington, D.C. Who would have figured?
Yeah.
All right. So our senior leads and Captain Zion, you want to come up here? He's okay, leave him alone?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, eat some donuts.
We're already go here.
You want to come up here? Come on, Chris, come on up here, now that I've embarrassed you. Go ahead. How's crime in your district, Jose?
Well, everybody has, I've been getting a lot of phone calls that I'm retiring. I'm retiring in 5 months, so I'll be gone by the end of December. So.
We are sad, no happy dances.
No happy days, right. But I'm already getting hired by the state police. So you might see me in plain clothes and coming down to SOHA doing dignitary stuff.
You'll be missed.
Sorry?
You'll be missed. Let's hear it for Jose.
One of our major problems that we still have is, of course, vehicles being broken into our community. Is people are leaving valuables in the car. So lock it, hide it, keep it. I've been seeing lately, because it's been hot, people are leaving their bedroom windows open, sliding doors open, especially in apartment buildings. And people are breaking in, forgetting to lock the windows when you guys leave the house in the morning. And people are breaking into those open windows. Luckily, we've been catching a couple of burglars. And we've been doing a real good job in Sherman on arrest, on narcotics, burglary suspects out there. So, give it up to you.
Thank you so much, partner. Just to piggyback on that, I was going to talk about that. Although we're low on numbers with police officers and detectives, I have seen a lot more search warrants being conducted by our detectives and a lot more burglary arrests that are happening. So our detectives are working tirelessly with these type of investigations, and they're actually making great arrests. One thing I do want to talk about, I don't know if you guys saw it on the media regarding a follow-home robbery from the Fashion Square Mall to the victim's residence. Our detectives are working also in great detail regarding this case. They're working with our Topanga detectives, Canoga Park, William Hills detectives, because they also had another follow-home robbery that was similar to it. Just a reminder to you guys and to the neighbors on our Zoom, if you do feel like you're being followed, try to stay on big streets, try to drive to your nearest police station. Our police station is on Victory and Van Nuys area, and just call 911 and give us your direction of travel. I'm traveling northbound Van Nuys, and I'm in a red Toyota, and the car that's following me, it's a white Toyota or something like that. And give us a lot of information if you can. There's 5 individuals in the car, or I only see one, and keep driving. Do not drive home because to a police station. And again, our detectives are working tirelessly, and they're working with other division detectives to get these individuals into custody.
Also on that too, on your navigation in your cars, most navigations have a home button. Don't put your real address in there. Seriously, don't put something like on the next block. It still gets you close to your home. But at the valet, when you give your tickets to or your keys to a valet, they can hit home. They've got your home address, so it's easier. They don't even have to follow you home. They can just be there before you get there.
Don't leave your registration in the car. Yes. Right.
Good point. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. So regarding the arrests, we made 7 arrests for robbery suspects last week.
This is cab design. Let's hear it for cab design.
So I'm the area commanding officer for Van Nuys. Again, we made 7 arrests last week. We made 4 arrests for burglary suspects in the last 2 weeks. So the officers are working very hard. I'm not sure about the numbers. We're down significantly with personnel. We're running about 5 to 7 cars a day, and that's to cover almost 30 square miles with about 300,000 residents. So we're doing the best we can. With that said, cell phones are the biggest distraction for people. I cannot tell you how many videos I've seen where people are followed home, robbed on the street, they're looking at the phone, they're not paying attention. You gotta keep your head up, move your head around, look around when you're driving home. If somebody's following you, again, don't go to your driveway, okay? The other issue we're seeing is Rolex watches. We've had several incidents where people are getting Rolex watches ripped off their hands. Okay, so if you wear, I like wearing nice watches too. If you do, keep it covered up. Okay, when you're going home in a place, keep it covered up. The most recent one was on Sunny Slope. The individual was at the mall, the Sherman Fashion Square about an hour before shopping. We think that person was following. Okay. So again, just beware of your surroundings, watch out for each other, watch out for your neighbors. We're still looking for volunteers as well. If you want to volunteer, please consider volunteering for Van Nuys. We have volunteer community policing patrols, we have volunteer surveillance teams. Be the eyes and ears person in the community. And again, thank you for everything, and hopefully the weather holds up.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Let's really hear from these guys.
Monday morning at 5:47, we thought we had an attempted break-in in our house, and the police were there, 5 of them, in 5 minutes. With guns, and they were amazing. So thank you all, honestly, and thank them for us too.
I will. Thank you. When you see the officers drive around, please thank them as well. And one of the constant themes we're getting is regarding homelessness. Regarding homelessness, we deal with crime. If they're committing criminal activity, using narcotics in the open nudity, we had a use of force with an individual yesterday that was on Sherman and Ventura Boulevard, where we had to take the person to the ground and get medical treatment because they're running around naked. Right? That's it. We deal with the crime. If it's not a criminal aspect in nature, then that's going to be something for one of those outreach teams to try to get that individual housed and get them off the street. So I know there's a lot of frustration that's getting aimed at the police. We're very limited with what we can do. So if they're not breaking the law, we don't have any enforcement ability for that. But if you see the officers out there, please tell them thank you. Wave at them. It makes a huge difference. It's a big morale boost as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Do we have any deputies that want to put anything out? I see Nick's deputy. Do you want to say anything? You want to say something? Come on up. And Nick, you want to work your way up? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up, Dan.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I will keep it quick so that you can get to the real star of the show, the Assemblymember. But I just wanted to let everyone know that yesterday the LA Board of Supervisors approved...
Hold on. What is your name?
Sorry, for those who don't know me, I'm Katie Abrams. I'm the field deputy for Supervisor Horvath. I cover the Sherman area. If you ever need anything from the county, please reach out to me. If you can't find your information, my information, reach out to Bob, and he has all of it, and he can pass it along as well. But I just want to share a quick update. The board approved the supervisor's motion to launch an emergency rent relief program, providing nearly $30 million in assistance to Angelinos recovering from the fires and extending it to immigrant families destabilized by the federal immigration raids. So what that means is that people will be eligible for up to 6 months of assistance, not exceeding $15,000, but we're hoping that with everything happening, this provides some much needed relief to many Angelinos. So wanted to share that with everyone, big deal, we were very excited about it. And yeah, as always, if there's anything else that I can do for you or let you know, please reach out.
Great, thank you. She does a great job. If you call the office, she'll actually return the phone call quickly. Tammy from the Sherman Oaks Encino Chamber of Commerce. She's got some big news for you guys.
So the big event that everybody looks forward to every year, the Sherman Oaks Street Fair, is happening October 19th, Sunday, October 19th. There'll be the usual, the community stage with all the bands performing and all the schools performing. We'll have the main stage with bands performing, and then we'll have rides, and we'll have a Ferris wheel again this year. So it's going to be such a nice event with lots of vendors and lots of food, and I know you're all looking forward to it. We'll see you there. It's a mile long from Ventura, from Hester to Van Nuys Boulevard, almost a mile long each way. So it's a lot of walking. Thanks.
Thank you. Awesome. Look forward to it. Come on, Nick. So I hope you don't mind if I just call you Nick. I don't have to call you Assemblymember. Okay, good. Okay. I got some flack years back for calling somebody by their first name instead of.
No, first name's great.
Okay. So you do have one of the easiest jobs in the state right now, right? Okay. Tell us a little bit about, most of you folks here know Nick. He's been here a couple times. When he is down and not in session, he does come to these meetings, just say hello to folks sometimes. But he's definitely the face of Sherman Oaks. He's your assembly member. And we've got a good open dialogue with him. We don't always agree with some of the things you stand for, but most of the things he's been a very pleasant assembly member to work with, so we appreciate that. But let's hear about you, your family, your background, a little bit more about you. I know some of these folks at home probably don't know.
Yeah, hey, happy to, and I just want to say thank you to Matt. Thanks to everyone that came out tonight. Hope everybody watching back home and all of you who are here get home safely. I know we have some inclement weather coming tonight, so take your precautions and be prepared. But I just want to really start with one point that you mentioned, Matt. I really appreciate our partnership with SOHA. And I know that we're not going to agree on everything. Frankly, any elected official who tells you you're going to love every way I vote on everything is probably full of it. But what I'm always going to deliver for all of you is I will come back, I will answer your questions as tough as they may be, happy to explain my thought process. And my one ask is I will try to approach these conversations with an open mind to really hear all of you, what you like about what we did, maybe your frustrations or your disappointment. And all I can ask is that you'll do the same, approach it with an open mind, and I'm happy to tell you about the very fast-paced world of the Capitol. I'll just quickly mention, for those online, Matt and Bob, we sent you guys this digital copy of what I'm about to hold up here. But this is our office's legislative update. For those of you here in person, there should be some on the table. On a very high level, and with your permission, I'd love to take 2 minutes to highlight a few bills. But on a very high level, I would say we had a productive year. We introduced 20 bills this year. 10 have either been signed by the governor or are currently on the governor's desk. I won't go over each of them, but I might highlight one or two I think you all would find interesting. I will just make a note that as you read this, and maybe we can drop the digital version in the chat, or you can send it out with the newsletter. You'll see a couple bills are noted as a 2-year bill. That just means that we didn't ultimately pass it out of both houses. We're still continuing to work with the administration and the opposition to get those bills in a better place, but they're very much still alive. What I would just highlight on a very high level is just really 3 things. In terms of the state budget, it was a precarious situation this year. Much like City of LA, we are dealing with a structural deficit. I'm proud to say that I think the 44th district fared pretty well. We really looked hard at how we can stave off some of these deep cuts that the governor was proposing to essential services in our community. And actually, a little bit of a success story that not every assembly member can claim. We are actually bringing $5 million back to the district under Proposition 4, which some of you may have voted for last election. This is the climate bond. We're bringing that back for some incredible work that they're doing up at the Discovery Cube. And, it's hard to bring that level of resources back to the district, but we're able to fight through the budget committee to do that. The second thing I would highlight is that in terms of how it's going up there, I was asked to chair the Public Safety Committee, which is a relatively coveted assignment. That of course is a joke, most people don't want to touch it, but it's an important assignment. I think the last rookie to take the helm of that committee was probably Bob Hertzberg back in the day when he represented the Valley. We did a really great job this year. We passed more than 120 bills between both houses that not only elevate the penalty and enhancements on certain crimes, we put new crimes on the books, and we also put more resources into our court system to help divert people and get them out of this prison pipeline, sort of that comprehensive approach. And I can answer questions about that. The last thing I would just say is in terms of highlighting some of our legislation, we are definitely going to talk about SB 79 tonight. I know that's on all of your minds. I'm happy to explain my vote, but I did want to just point out one other bill that unfortunately hasn't gotten a lot of traction, and that's with everybody. If you were to look at page 3 of our handout, I really just wanted to highlight Assembly Bill 1050, which is probably the bill that most speaks to my personal perception on housing and how we solve it. AB 1050 was not brought to us by some lobbyist or outside third house group. It was a bill that came from my observation in Burbank that we had all these vacant, underutilized commercial centers in our community. Up in Sumitoga, you have the site that was going to be the Home Depot. In Burbank, you have the old IKEA location, and I could go on. And yet, when we talk about adding housing, those are not the places that we seem to be directing all of our efforts and attention. 1050 was a bill that looks at the fact that on many of these parcels, the CC&Rs prevent the development of housing altogether. And hey, if we have to add housing, if we have to meet REMA, if we're going to see the CHIP ordinance implemented to its full promise, let's put it where it makes just too much sense, I would say, to add housing. So I just want to highlight that because that bill did not get the attention that I hoped it would. It is part of the governor's fast track package, but that's how I think we tackle the issue of housing. I am a believer that we need to add more housing in our communities, and I think our commercial corridors are the right place to start the conversation. So I just want to turn it back to you, Matt, but say that 1050 is the kind of legislation that I was proud to author. We're glad it's on the governor's desk. That's really where I want to steer my efforts and my attention in terms of this housing crisis that we're tackling at the state level. And before I forget, somebody had another question.
Thank you. I actually want to talk about the bill that you were just talking about because one of the reasons it's not getting a lot of attention is because there is not a lot of money behind it. The big money's not behind it. So, Wiener first had, years ago, he had the support of the California Association of Realtors. He had a ton of money that they were throwing at him to get that done. They went away because he got a little bit too crazy with single-family homes. And then Silicon Valley really spent a ton of money with him for before it's SB 79, it was the other bill having to do with the same thing, destroying single-family homes. They wanted supposedly more homes, and then most recently it was Wall Street money coming in. Is that correct? So we can put all around all day long, but the reality is we got to call a spade a spade. This guy Wiener comes in. He wasn't born here in California. I was. He was born in New Jersey. If we want California, Southern California, to look like New Jersey, I'd move to New Jersey. But the reality is that he's as far left as you can get, but the reality is calling a spade, if you're corrupt, if you're taking big money, what's the difference between that and the far right when we accuse, well, you took money from a developer? So that bill that you're talking about, we agree. We've had Maria and I and a lot of the other members here talked about so many of these parcels that just are so prime for development. Jeff put together a plan, Vision 2020, that's now Vision 2025, and it's going to be Vision 2050 by the time we're done. But he's got an amazing plan that deals with these types of parcels. Why isn't that getting why isn't it getting more traction? And why isn't somebody screaming out of the window that you're mad as hell and you're not going to take it anymore?
So I think that's a great question, and I want to leave right where you left off. I think that there are folks that are really upset and unhappy with the housing conversation in California, but I want to lift up a comment that Maria made in her presentation. If you're looking at a bill like SB 79, and by the way, the entire San Fernando Valley delegation did not vote for the bill. All 4 assembly members who represent the Valley, Menjivar and Stern, the 2 senators, did not. And if you're wondering why a bill like that gets passed, it's because of the exemptions. Because most of the folks voting in favor of it, it actually doesn't impact their area. The other thing I would add is the influence of money. And not even just money, but what we call the third house. I can only speak for our office, but look, in the Capitol, every day that you're there, somebody from some trade association or union or someone will come through your door and say, hey, I've got a great bill on you. And there's a time and a place for that. I'm not gonna lie, there are some really great bills in the criminal justice space. The California Innocence Project, we ran a bill with, AB 1036, you'll see on page 4, I think. Sometimes there are really good ideas that come from those groups. I think the pitfall that legislators can fall into is that there's no replacement or substitute for independent criticism. We all were elected to represent our communities, and we can't trust that some trade association headquartered in Sacramento is going to understand our problems and how to solve them. I think it's easy to run all of your bills that come presented to you by someone else who promise a coalition that will get behind it. And I appreciate your kind words, Matt. I think that AB 1050 is an example of a good policy bill, something that we didn't have a broad coalition on. People did vote for it, and on a bipartisan basis, because it's good policy. And I don't think there's nearly enough of that kind of legislation. Things aren't backed by these other groups.
But Nick, we all see the path that the state has gone down, and it's pathetic. It's pathetic. People are moving, good people, good jobs are moving out of this state. I love Southern California. I love California. Okay, I never signed on to the secession movement. I grew up here in the Valley. I'm an Angelino. I'm a Californian. But there's a tipping point for everybody. And if the legislators don't, if you don't ring that bell as loud and keep ringing that bell, there's not going to be a bell to ring. Or what's going to happen is the far right's going to go ahead and do what they've done in Washington. Because people, the folks that are left here are going to get at some point just fed up and move. Am I wrong? Does anyone disagree with what I'm saying? No. Okay. So be that champion, be that bellringer. Get a handful of other folks that are, every community, I don't care where it is, even these smaller towns with 35,000 people or less, that, SB 79 is not going to affect. Even those smaller towns still have a housing issue, still have a homeless issue, still have a crime issue. So you've got empty businesses everywhere. You've got empty storefronts along so many of the commercial corridors. We can do something. Homelessness is not as difficult as people keep saying. They keep saying it's difficult. Give me a year in office as king, and I would solve it.
You heard it, folks.
As king.
Actually, if I may, just a slight deviation on the topic of homelessness. One of the bills that I just wanted to highlight for you all, it's on the 4th page, and if you're watching online, we'll get this out to you. AB 1229 was another bill that, it's a 2-year bill, so we're going to continue working on it next year. But it's the intersection of public safety, housing, and homelessness. And if that sounds like it's too good to be true, I would say it's too darn common sense to believe that this, I'm going to describe the problem for you. We have unhoused folks in our community, and there's no one reason that people find themselves in a homeless situation. But it probably comes as no surprise that we have thousands of Californians that are exiting our state prison system every single year. Now, we have existing programs that are designed to place these folks in permanent supportive housing. And look, if it's good for the person leaving prison, quite frankly, it's also good for our community to know where they are, to ensure that they're stable, to monitor them. Would anyone here like to venture to guess what the success rate, how many people entering those housing placement programs actually get housed on any given year, in terms of a percentage? Any guesses? 3%, 30%? You're all right around there, 27.1%. Nearly 3/4 of people leaving state prison that seek housing placement do not get housed. What happens? They are unhoused in our community, they have no support system, no place to live, no place to work, they reoffend. They end up back in prison, we are all less safe because of it. AB 1229 is a common sense measure to say that the Bureau of State and County Corrections, which is currently administering that program, is failing. 27% is a failing grade by any measure. If we're gonna have the self-proclaimed housing experts in California in the form of HCD, then have them help with the housing of these individuals. It will lead to safer communities, it will drive down, at least in part, the homeless rate, and it's better for them, it's better for us. These are the kind of common sense measures that we're trying to champion there. The only reason we didn't get that through this year, by the way, was the Senate supported it. By the way, Democrats and Republicans, both sides of the aisle like the idea. We're currently working with the governor. I guess HCD had some concerns about their ability to implement it, so we're trying to work through that problem. But the point I'm trying to make is I agree with you, Matt. I think that I'm never going to stand up here or sit up here and say that, you know, I'm perfect or that you should agree with how I voted on everything. But our office is definitely trying to have thoughtful legislation, things that actually, by the way, 1229 didn't even ask for more money. It sought to reappropriate existing resources. That's the kind of legislation I think we need more of at the Capitol. And the last thing I'll say, Matt, is to your point about how to be a champion for this district. You know, your point is well taken. Those of you who watch the Capitol, you know that sometimes I can give, I think, a pretty rousing speech on the floor when I need to. But I also think, just being very blunt, and this is similar to my experience on the Burbank City Council, by the time you get to a floor vote, the deal's done. The votes are there. People don't put bills up, generally speaking, unless they've counted the votes several times. We all know that's the untold secret in Sacramento. When 79 went up, I knew they had 43 votes. It was done. And I'm not saying that there isn't a time and place to stand up and speak, but what I'm saying is giving a speech is a great example of standing up for your community, but the right kind of legislator, in my view, does a lot of work even before that point. And I can't tell you all how many meetings I had with Mr. Wiener and his allies on 79. I never could get to the point of voting yes for 79 because I had real concerns, especially about density in the very high fire hazard zones, which are in our district. Now, while I did not believe that their amendments were nearly enough, I fundamentally believe in my heart that the amendments that did come forward to shift some but not all of the density was because of our conversations. And I'm just saying, I think there's more to that too. Sometimes you have to do more than just show up at the floor. You have to really work these bills behind the scenes. And that's how bills like 1050 and 1229, without moneyed interests and robust support, got as far as they did. Did you really?
You know, I'm going to jump ahead to a 79 topic that Jay Weitzler had put, but I'm going to kind of intertwine it with something different. You know, we watched the news today, and it used to be when somebody, in the news, whether it was KNX or something on the news, on your TV, when they say breaking news, you would stop doing what you were doing and listen because it was something important, right? Breaking news. Every story on the news today is breaking news. That's how they couch it. Every issue that wants to get passed is now an emergency element, okay? So, Jay Weitzler wanted to know that the state constitution gives cities the right to zone their land within their boundaries, okay? But the only reason that the California legislation heard this was because there's an emergency declaration on housing, okay? What a crock of shit. Seriously, what a crock of shit. There is an emergency dealing with housing, sure, but they've spent trillions of dollars, hundreds of billions, I should say, not trillions yet, but they've spent, and they continue to spend money on things that don't work. So, the same with the homeless issue, it's to pass that on to us as the citizens, as an emergency. Who approves that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it seems so straightforward. It's a bit more complicated in the sense that you have to refer to the Constitution, and there's a bunch of advisory opinions on it, but the shortest and simplest explanation is this. An emergency, or what we call it, is an urgency. So when you see a bill with an urgency clause, that's what we're talking about, a bill that can take effect immediately as opposed to waiting to January the following year. It's essentially whatever the governor proclaims it to be, and or whatever the 2/3 of the legislature agree that it is. I mean, I suppose there are some limits within reason of what you could claim to be an emergency, but at 54 assembly members and, help me guys, 20 some odd senators, whatever 2/3 would be, 26, 27, whatever that number is, if they say we identify X as an emergency and therefore we pass this measure and declare the urgency, it's kind of whatever they say it is. Now, it can be challenged in court, but by and large, there's a lot of deference to the governor and deference to the legislature.
Okay. I'm going to go back to 79 in a second, but before Captain Zion leaves, I do want, he's done a lot of work recently on putting a initiative in front of, it's actually, is it in front of the chief's office at this point?
It's somebody downtown.
Somebody downtown, okay. So this legislation that he personally, along with a couple other folks, I believe, but you kind of spearheaded it, was something that I think is super, super easy and super, a great idea to help, and you and I have talked about this. I don't know if you remember, but we talked about this a while ago, but use a mask, use a hoodie in the commission of a crime, you get an extra enhancement. Just like use a gun in the commission of a crime, you get an extra enhancement. So if somebody breaks into my house, somebody walks into my business with a gun, they're going to get if they get arrested, if they get convicted, they'll get a special enhancement. If somebody walks into my house or my property to commit a crime and they're wearing a hood and a mask, it's not because they're fearful of COVID or they have a bad hair day, it's because they don't want to be identified. So assuming that that his legislation does get passed, or goes from the chief's office, and is that something that you would support?
I'd be happy to look at it, yes. And the reason why I would add is that there was another bill that was not my own this year, but Senate Bill 627 passed the legislature, and this would make it a misdemeanor, generally speaking, for federal and local law enforcement to be masked in the commission of performing their duties. What this is going at are some of these ice rates. Now, there is an exemption where if a local agency has a policy on masking and the officers complying with the policy, they can't be prosecuted for it. But my point is that I think that whether you agree with that bill or not, and that did pass out of the legislature, largely on a partisan vote, what I would say is if we're saying that there's value, and I believe there is, in ensuring that if I'm apprehended or contacted at my home or place of employment, I think you have a right to know who the hell is claiming to arrest you and what you're accused of doing wrong. I think that's fundamental due process. What I would say though is, I think that sets a blueprint to say, shouldn't the same principle apply?
100%.
So I mean, whether you agree with my vote on 627, I actually do agree that when you are trying to hide your identity, that does show some heightened level of coordination, over planning, things that I would certainly, as a prosecutor, when I was in the courtroom before this career, what I would have pointed to as an aggravating circumstance, saying this wasn't some accidental crime, this was someone who was very meticulous in carrying it out. I think that same policy would apply there. So I'd love to connect with you, sir, offline and learn more about it. Thank you.
Are you saying that you want the policeman to not have anything to cover, that not have their face covered? But it's okay for the person who's committing the crime to have some of their face covered?
No, I'm not. But if I can first just repeat the question just for anyone online. If I understood it correctly, you were just clarifying whether I think the police should have that prohibition on wearing masks, but not a person committing an offense. Is that, did I capture that right?
Yes.
Okay. So no, I think we should treat, like alike. I think at the end of the day, if you're committing a crime and you're also wearing a mask, there should be some aggravating consideration, whether that's a sentencing enhancement or a higher tier in the triad. I know I'm talking shop here, but yes, I do think there should be some accountability for that. Absolutely. And with regards to policing, I think there are in the bill, if the governor signs it, there are exemptions in situations where you might wear a mask, if you're an officer, especially if you're dealing with like a hazmat or medical emergency. But in general, this is just my personal belief, I think that we have seen what can happen when people are hiding their identity, both the perpetrators of crime. We've also seen what secret police do in the course of our history and how bad that can be. I'm a fundamental believer of let the sun shine bright and everything will be cleansed.
Okay, I'm going to get into some of the 79 questions. So this came in from online. Can you get from Scott Wiener's office them to give you a definitive map on the impacted areas of Sherman Oaks?
Not from Mr. Wiener's office. I had a map, I say a couple maps, but I think the one that I saw most recently was provided by Streets for All, an organization. They did map it, and from what I understood from the most recent amendments, all the tier 3 sites were taken out of the bill One of the things that continues to this day to be a concern for me are the tier 1 sites would include the Universal City Red Line Station stop. And if you look out a half mile from the radius there, I mean, those communities are under evacuation order. I mean, that is where Palisades nearly burned into the valley. And that's the kind of thing that I pointed to Mr. Weiner and say, look, I appreciate your amendments. I still can't in good conscience go back to the community and say, yes, more density in that area makes sense. I don't think that it does make sense there.
So it's not just transit, it's transit and bus stops.
It was bus stops, now it's tier 1 and tier 2. So you're talking heavy rail, so the metro line, like the red line running through, that would be covered. And then a tier 2 stop would be either a dedicated lane, so like physical separations, you're talking like a physically separated bus lane, or a bus lane only that operates 24/7. So I'm not suggesting it doesn't have any impact on the community, it does. But I think where they were able to get more support elsewhere in the state is that the original version included many bus stops of high frequency every 15 minutes. We were looking at one up near Hanson Dam that was really problematic for us. By striking out the tier 3 stops, they were able to win over a lot of support.
Okay, but again, we've all seen the intent and then the reality of what happens 2, 3, 4 years down the line. So, you know, and who controls these transit stops? You know, the MTA board, there's council members, there's supervisors, there's mayors, there's, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a moving target. If you wanted to go ahead and create a 24-hour bus lane down Ventura Boulevard tomorrow, it would not be that difficult to go ahead and do that in the city of Los Angeles and again, the group that you've met with, is very, very, very progressive.
Sure.
Their intentions are completely different than, I think, everybody in this room, and most people, as a matter of fact, every person that I have spoken to in San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
So, the maps that you saw that they provided you, did you meet with Jeff and see his maps?
We have met a couple of times, and I have seen the maps, and we also get them emailed over to my office from United Neighbors. So what I would add on that point, Matt, is, and maybe this is just a shortcoming of mine, I believe in meeting with everybody, talking to everybody, but I also scrutinize, I'll put it this way, being in the courtroom as a prosecutor wouldn't be the first time I've seen a witness lie on the stand. I question everything that everybody tells me to a healthy degree. So when Streets for All shows me a map, I look at it, I consider it, but just like anybody, I also use my own independent critical thinking to say, does this map actually match what I'm reading in the text of the bill?
Okay, yeah, Maria?
I just want to say that when we met with the planning department, they could not say to us for sure that a 24/7 bus lane that is just a solid line is omitted. And the planning department has been very involved. They could not say we're supportive of Ventura counts or not. They're in the midst of trying to talk to SCAG about what qualifies. So Streets for All is a lobbying group for a lot of these investors. So they have maps that, you know.
That don't show it, real impact.
Yeah.
Right. And I just wanted to repeat back for those online. So your point about LA Planning not being able to give you what I heard was like a clear, direct answer on whether a 24/7, but my understanding is that that would fall within the purview of SB 789. When it came up for a vote, my understanding is that a bus lane operating 24/7 would qualify for that upzoning in the area. I can't explain why LA Planning didn't give you a more clear answer, but that was my understanding.
But when they're concerned that they're probably not omitted, so all of Sepulveda becomes a target. They don't know that it's omitted.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add, Maria, and then sorry, Matt, I'll let you get on to the next question. You know, the other thing that I mentioned to Senator Weiner actually went the other way, and I said, look, there's a project in my community, the North Hollywood to Pasadena BRT, you've probably heard of that. I told them, look, if you pass this bill and the governor signs it, the sort of counter incentive that you may not realize is that now if you're on the Burbank City Council, why would you greenlight that project? So you're about to kill a major transit project, which many people, myself included, by the way, as controversial as it is. I actually like the project, I'd like to see it happen, but I couldn't fault the Burbank City Council members, the Glendale City Council members, any of them, for killing that project now because they have that option. Until it's done, they're not subject to 79, why would they put it in? And that's the kind of unintended consequences that I pointed out to Mr. Weiner. And at the end of the day, as much as I will give him credit in one regard, he continued to meet with me in good faith, he continued to have reasonable conversations. It just ultimately came down to, he knew he had the votes, and I told him, I have to vote by conscience. I can agree with the intent of the bill. I can think that it's mostly great, but I believe that in context of legislation, you've all heard the phrase, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Well, when it comes to legislation and things that we're doing that impact your daily lives and where you call home, I do think perfection has to be the aim. So I don't care if there's one thing I have a concern with. If I can't look you all in the eye and say I think it's fully baked and a good idea, I'm not going to vote for it.
So, you didn't vote for it, but you did a no vote. You didn't vote. You didn't vote no, you didn't vote yes. A couple of questions are a little bit more hardball, but basically one of them calls it, I went to the bathroom, no vote. That's what your vote was. So, I understand the process up in Sacramento, but if you can explain the process,
sure, why you
didn't vote, and it effectively is a no vote. But if you could explain to the folks at home, because one of them is from somebody that's at home, and one of them is from somebody that's in the room. Go ahead.
So first of all, thank you for the question, and that's the kind of tough, hard-hitting, and fair question that when I said I'll continue to come back and address your questions, I understand you may not like the answer, and you may not agree with me, but I think it's my duty, I owe you that answer. So I would respectfully disagree in the sense that I know folks characterize it as a bathroom no vote. It's actually a very intentional choice, and I'll explain my thought process on it. Before I do though, just because I never want to assume everybody understands the inner working of the Capitol, whether you vote no or don't vote, any bill requires 41 votes to get out of the Assembly, period. So it's not one of those situations where if a bunch of people abstain, the threshold drops. You have to have 41 votes every single time, or 54 votes if it's an urgency measure or something dealing with a tax increase, but you always have to meet that threshold.
And so the 41, you need 21 yes.
No, you need 41 yes. This is the Assembly.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm going too quick here. The Assembly has 80 members, so you have to have a majority of those members, 41. So even if everyone's sick or people don't show up, you can't pass anything without 41 votes. In the Senate, which has 40 seats, it's half the size of the Assembly, it's 21 votes. You can't pass anything without the 21. So I bring all of that up to say that for me, and this is just the way I operate, I don't claim to speak for any other legislator, I really reserve my no votes. And the reason why is because I want them to be very powerful and impactful. As much as I didn't like the implementation, and I thought there were defects with 79 that I wish we had addressed, at its core, I do believe there's a housing crisis. I think we need to add more housing. I don't disagree with the spirit, if you will, of looking at our transit-rich areas to find a way to add more housing, especially if it's on a commercial parcel. But I couldn't vote for it, and I felt that not voting sent the right message because I didn't disagree with all of it. I just couldn't agree with enough to get to yes. There are a handful of bills that I will vote on in any given year, no. I'm not going to mention a bill because it's not really the subject of what your interest is, but I'll tell you, our Republican minority leader had a bill this year that, in my view, would roll back the critical gains we've made in reproductive rights. That's a bill I will vote no. And I will vote no because I disagree with the premise of the bill. I disagree with the author's intent. And so I understand that other legislators may overuse that and take no votes to avoid a hard vote. Whether you agree with me or not, whether you think I made the right call or not, I hope you walk away at least with the understanding of I'm very intentional when I do something. I felt that it was appropriate to signal to the author, I understand there's a problem, there are aspects of your bill that I think could work in another universe if you made it better, but as currently written, I can't vote aye, and I'm going to vote my district.
Okay. In a July 2025 article in Politico, there was a article about the future of YIMBY, which YIMBY is, for those of you folks at home or in the audience here, YIMBY is not my backyard. So we are Sherman Homeowners Association. Everybody thinks of us as NIMBYs. And that's not true. We work with good development, smart development, but there's a group that came out probably 10 years ago, YIMBYs. Yes, it's my backyard. They want more density, and they think that us NIMBYs have destroyed, and we're the reason why there's a housing crisis. Okay, so this article in Politico talk about that Scott Wiener is kind of like the champion of NIMBYs, correct?
Yeah, I remember that article, and yes, he's sort of, yeah.
Okay, so in that article, they also identify you as one of the possible newish, not Jewish, but newish legislators who are NIMBY friendly. And possibly you kind of taking over the Wiener baton when he leaves, because he's turned out. This is his last year.
Yeah, he'll be turned out 3 more.
3 more years, yeah. I mean, he's on his way up. So, how do you address that? Well, let me finish the question actually. If you are a champion for the NIMBYs, how do you stand up and be consistent with us as a homeowner association group?
It's an excellent question, and thank you to whoever submitted it. I will just mention before I directly answer it, I did see the article. I did not know the article was coming out, and I believe there was a quote sort of lauding me as someone who could write news to me. Appreciate the complimentary remarks. I would say I am NIMBY friendly, in the sense that I do believe there's a housing crisis. Not everyone agrees that there is. I do
friendly for on the NIMBY side or friendly for the NIMBY side?
Well, I would say NIMBY friendly. I do believe, so this is the way I look at it. If you do not believe that there's a housing crisis, if you do not believe that we need to add more housing, I hate using labels, but I guess it puts you in the NIMBY camp, although to me I think it's overused and very derogatory. These are people that care about their neighborhood, they care about their quality of life. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. I say that I would agree with the extent where they called me NIMBY friendly, in that I agree there's a housing crisis. I think we need to add housing. I think that people like Jeff and Maria have come up with really comprehensive and interesting ideas to do just that. So is the City of Los Angeles with its CHIP ordinance and its housing element. So that's where I do say, yes, I'm friendly to it. But I will tell you, it's been an interesting walk the last week, because I've heard it from both sides. People very unhappy, as many of you might be, with me not more boisterously voting no on the floor. And I've heard other people saying, well, I thought you were going to be the next Scott Wiener of Southern California. You know what I told them? I'm not Scott Wiener, I'm Nick Schultz. I don't want to be the next whatever of any. There's never been someone like me, and there never will be, just as there's no other Scott Wiener, Buffy Wicks, whatever. All that I can offer is my experience serving in local government, my perspective, the kind of things I'm trying to share with all of you. I don't want to be the heir apparent to anybody. I want to pass legislation that I think solves the problem in our district. I think Scott has started a conversation. I agree with some of what he's done. I disagree with some of what he's done. In this instance specifically, I didn't think 79 fixed the problem. And I offer all that up to say that I guess my answer is I want to represent everybody. There are people in this district that are hot mad at me for not voting aye. There are people that are mad at me for not voting no. And I do not mean this comment to come across dismissively at all. I offer this so you all understand the person that's sitting here before you as your elected official. I look back to my legal experience, and when I was negotiating cases or I was appearing before the judge, generally speaking, when everybody walked away unhappy but could live with the outcome, that was usually the sign of a good negotiation. If the NIMBYs are a little disappointed in me and the NIMBYs are a little disappointed with me, I think that is a sign of I'm probably striking some balance in the middle, which is where I personally believe that we need to follow. I think we need more housing. I think it also needs to integrate with our community, complement existing neighborhoods, and it needs to make sense. That's what I'm striving to do.
Okay, I'm going to get off of SB 79 and I'm going to go on to a few others. Nadine C., are you here? I think she's online. Okay. What was your reasoning for voting yes on AB 495, which will make child abduction easy and legal since no parental signature or background checks on IDs are required? Just an affidavit by a person claiming that they have temporary custody of the child.
Just because I think that's a really important question, could you actually read that, the part about it making child abduction easier? Could you read that again and slower?
Sure. What was your reason for voting yes on AB 495, which will make child abduction easy and legal?
And that's not true, but go on.
Since no parental signature or background checks or ID are required, just an affidavit by the person claiming they have temporary custody of the child. And before you answer the question, if you can actually just give everybody what the background on AB 495 a little bit.
Thank you for that. So 8495, and by the way, I know that was a harsh statement. I don't mean to suggest that the person asking the question is trying to make an untrue statement. There's been a lot of misinformation out there about this bill. That's all I'm trying to suggest. 8495 was authored by my colleague to the north, Assemblymember Celeste Rodriguez, who represents the San Fernando area. Her community has been heavily impacted by these ice raids, and her bill came from the observation, the heartfelt experience of many parents that were being abducted from their place of work, and then their children are in school, and who is to take care of them. 8495 actually builds on a pre-existing process. This custodial affidavit that the questioner was mentioning, this was actually passed by the Republican state senator 30 years ago who represented the eastern portion of this district. Even back then, on a bipartisan basis, there was an understanding that parents have a responsibility and a need to plan in the event that they are not available. Who's going to pick up their kid? 8495 it addresses this issue of these ice raids as another condition precedent for which you can utilize this affidavit. The other thing I would mention is that the misrepresentations, again, not by the person asking the question, but from many people out there who maybe don't understand the bill, the misrepresentation would have you believe that you could just pick a child at random, put a signature on a form, and take that child out of school. That's actually not the process at all. The process for reviewing and approving that affidavit is 26 steps that culminates in review by the superior courts of California. So I bring all that up to say that when we talk about our children, when we talk about my two kids, Ella and Aiden, I get protective. And so if somebody were to suggest to me that that's what that bill does, I get the concern and the opposition. All I can say to all of you is the same thing I said to my Republican colleagues on the floor: read the bill. If you don't agree with the bill, that's fair, but vote no on the bill for what it actually says and does, and not what someone has portrayed to you that it says and does. This bill does not allow the abduction of children, and if it did, I would have been the first to kill it as public safety chair, but that's not what this bill does.
You saying you like kids now?
I like my two kids. Yes, I do. Ella and Aiden, they are my world.
This one's from Bob Anderson, so you can see him right there. You introduced ED 939, the quote, Safe and Sustainable Traffic Reducing Transportation Bond Act of 2026, end quote. That will create a taxpayer-funded $20 billion state fund, or bond. $10 billion would be earmarked for local and regional rail projects, like the Metro Suburban Transit Corridor project. Sources say that you drafted the bond legislation bond in consultation with LA Metro officials. Did you also consult statewide and other transportation agencies and with communities impacted by transit? What criteria would be used to allocate bond funds?
So thank you for the question, Bob. You're all the very first to hear of it. AB 939 was held in the Transportation Committee. That bill is not going to be moving forward. I actually also co-authored a housing bond that we were hoping to get on the ballot. With the state's budget crisis, we don't have sufficient funds for debt servicing for any bonds. So the housing bond didn't go forward. Wish that would have happened. The transportation bond will not be going forward. But what I would say is, yes, we did talk with Metro about it. We did consult with other state transportation agencies. And our goal and our plan was to also work directly with the communities that would have been impacted. At this point, however, seeing no path forward, AB 939 will be gut amended, that's the term we use, to do something else. Right now, we're looking at a potential bill with Habitat for Humanity, so we're going to find some other use for it.
Okay. Janet, couples, are you here? Okay, great. So I'm saving the really hardball question for last for you, because I've been asking nothing but softball questions today, right?
Fair enough.
Okay. So Janet wants to know, do you want to ask this yourself or do you want me to do it? I'm going to do it. Okay. Why can't California mandate drip irrigation? Hold on. Okay. It's a proven method of saving water. 85% of California's water goes for agriculture. The Central Valley is sinking as the water table goes down. Ag businesses can write this off. It's so logical. She has written every single elected official representative, and she's not getting an answer.
Well, thank you for the question. And if you wrote our office, I apologize if we didn't get back to you. I'm getting the indication, maybe not. But what I would say is, to your question, why can't California mandate drip irrigation? I think we could. I think that it's something I would love to learn more about and discuss with you and see if there's a path forward there. I think the obstacle is just like you have the realtors, we talked about the indie movement, agriculture is a huge industry in California, and I am sure that they would lean on many of their members who live in more rural parts of the state to say all the reasons why they think it's a terrible idea. I'm not saying that's going to influence my opinion. I think it's good policy. Let's pursue it. But I think that would be the obstacle, is you have to overcome what I would imagine would be pretty unified opposition from the 20 Republican members who largely represent more rural areas. So you're already starting at 60 total people you can work with, and you could only lose 19. And there are Democrats who represent rural areas. So I think you would have to carefully work to build a coalition and maybe address some, not all, but some of agriculture's concerns to hopefully get the 41 votes on board. But I'd love to talk with you offline about it and learn more about it.
So I gave him your email so you guys can, okay. But before you do that though, you've got this new emergency ballot that's going out.
Oh, yes.
In November 50?
Proposition 50.
Proposition 50. That there may not be 22, whatever, how many Republican legislators, right?
Great question. Before I answer...
So you might be able to get the drip deal because you're going to have a whole balance of power, right?
It would actually only deal with congressional representation. It would not change any of the legislative districts. So Assembly and Senate would be unchanged.
Got it.
And the other thing, if I can, Matt, I would just say...
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry, I know this is like very lawyerly, and I apologize, but I do feel the need to say it because I think I need to be a transparent operator, right? That's the job. I'm here speaking in my state official capacity tonight, so I'm not going to tell you how you should vote on Proposition 50. All I can tell you to do is to look at the yes on Prop 50 and the no on Prop 50 campaign websites and eventually the Secretary of State ballot description and make your own minds up. What I can tell you, though, is just as a matter of record, I did vote for Prop 50 because I fundamentally believe this is a really tough call to make, that I do not believe the final call should be made by Governor Newsom or the 120 legislators, myself included. Whether you like the map or don't like the map, I will only make one observation, and I hope when I talk about keeping open mind, I just hope you'll hear me on this. Maybe you vote no on this map because you think it's terrible and two wrongs don't make a right. Maybe you vote yes on the map because you think, what's the alternative? All I will point out is this. Never in the course of history in the state of California, and to the best of my knowledge in that, never in the course of United States history has a map ever been presented to the voters of the state for an up or down approval. It's always been done by an independent commission, which I do fully support. It's been done by legislators in smoke-filled rooms. You've never been given a straight up or down vote. I felt that at the end of the day that whatever's happening in Texas, whatever our response will be, it has to be decided by the people. And I wanted to give the people the chance to weigh in on it. So all I will leave you with is this. Do your homework, please. Make your own mind up. Vote your conscience, vote your heart. But do educate everyone, whether you support it or not. There is an election on November 4th. And my team could tell you, we don't answer political calls in the office, so we don't tell people how they should vote. But the number of people that have no idea this election is happening is startling. So the one thing I would ask of you is just please educate, please tell people they're going to have a ballot mailed in about a month's time, and they should vote, and they should do their research and vote their conscience.
Okay.
On AB 495, I think you maybe misspoke. You said that it was in response to the ice raids, but it wasn't. It was submitted in February, and the first ice raids in Los Angeles weren't until June. So that was a misstatement on your behalf. You also found the courage to go up against your entire committee and the Senate and Governor Newsom on the tax bill. You found the courage to protect and prevent prosecution of people who wanted to buy teens for sex. But you won't have the courage to take a stand and vote against SB 79 to protect the lives of people in communities, high fire-prone areas. You know people are going to die as a result of that, and you know it's going to negatively impact the quality of life of everyone in this room. He is up for re-election. The primary is in June. Make sure you vote in June, and remember today who voted to preserve your quality of life and who voted to protect child predators.
Well, thank you for that statement. What I would say is you're incorrect again. 495 was introduced in February, but it was amended after February. And I'm telling you exactly what the author, Celeste Rodriguez, told me. So you can disagree with it, but that's a matter of fact, and you can independently verify that. The other thing I would mention is, because I wasn't going to bring it up, because I wanted to spend our time talking about 79, but because you brought up AB 379, I will mention that AB 379, which you will find on page 2 of your handout here, was a bill that I actually was the lead author on with Maggie Krell after it left committee. And again, ma'am, you're welcome to disagree with me, but you had your opportunity to make your statement. I'd like my opportunity to respond, please. AB 379 has been signed by the governor. It is a bill that does 3 critical things. It adds the ability to now charge a felony when a 16 or 17-year-old is solicited for purchase for a sexual activity. And we tied it to how we handle statutory rape, if there's an age gap between the offender and the child. The other thing I would note is that independent of this provision, there actually is an entirely different penal code section that allows for felony charging if you are engaging in sexual abuse, sexual touching with a minor of any age. And by the way, again, you don't have to take my word for it, that's perfectly okay. I pulled the data from California Department of Justice. Senate Bill 1414, Senate Bill 14, and now this section that are in AB 379, it was utilized less than 10 times in the state of California in 2023 by officers, because if you want to charge and prosecute someone for a felony of child sexual abuse, which I've done, by the way, you would use the other code section, which carries a mandatory felony. The other thing I would add is that it also adds new teeth. So for about 10 to 15 years, businesses in California, certain kinds of businesses, have been required to post a standard human trafficking notice, one that says, if you or someone that you believe is a victim or a victim in a human trafficking situation, please call this number, please text this number. The legislature never answered probably the most important part of this question, which was, who the heck is responsible for actually policing that, for making sure the notice is up? And if fines are levied for a non-compliant business, where do the funds go? This bill does 2 things. It now empowers the California Department of Justice, the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, to actually go after these businesses and collect those fines, and then also deposits all those proceeds in a survivor fund. Because one thing that we don't talk nearly enough about is people that are actually exiting a human trafficking situation. Sure, throw the human trafficker behind bars, as I did, by the way. Just Google Son Joaquin Garcia La Luz del Mundo, of which I was part of the prosecution team. But we're not doing nearly enough for the survivor, for someone who's actually exiting that situation. Where are they going to get a job? How are they going to be housed? How do we allow them to get stable in the community? We don't do enough for them. That's what AB 379 does.
Okay, so I'm going to end with this one thing, you guys. There's a new sham, there's a new thing that's being presented to us in Los Angeles, and I guarantee you that most of the folks in the audience, most of the folks at home, just like SB 79, don't know anything about it. And it's just going to happen. And that's, does everybody know that there's a charter reform commission that's being formed right now to rewrite the Constitution of the city of Los Angeles? Anybody know? No. Okay. It's happening. So come next month, because we have, anybody remember this, he's very old, but he's really nice. This guy, Dennis Zine? Yeah. So Dennis is Chris's dad. He was a council member, he was a top cop. He's just a great guy. He's done a lot of stuff for the city of Los Angeles. He was supposed to be on that charter reform commission, but guess what? This independent charter reform commission didn't want him. Why? We're going to find out about it next month. So come to the meeting. Yes, Jane.
I just want to let everyone know there's a lot of food left, and I've left the place out so you can bring food home.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Clean up your areas, because otherwise, I have to. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Travis. I appreciate it.